I'm a minute late. Sorry. As you can see, I cut my hair yesterday. Those things are completely unrelated. Are you going to come sit on my lap? It's okay. Cat. And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my cup of coffee. No, you can't go behind me. I don't like when you're back there. Turn around. Would someone like a cat? I will ship her to you. She thinks that the robe is a blanket, and that, which of course is not going to work out. Cat. Well, Thursday, another day of beautiful weather here in Vermont. I mean, this is one of my favorite times of year. It really is, because things are getting going. It's cold at night. It's easy to sleep. It's beautiful during the day. I think yesterday was 72, and to some parts of the world, 72 might not feel warm, but when it was 20 degrees not that long ago, 70 degrees is pretty darn warm. Spent some time working with plants yesterday. Got a bunch more plant work to do today. Work-wise, did a bunch of stuff. Had a number of phone calls related to different things, different projects, and today I have calls with two clients. Well, one hopefully new client, another martial arts school. I like working with martial arts schools. It is the intersection of everything that I know and have done. And at some point, I hope, we'll have to set a limit on how many I work with. That would be fun. That would be a good problem to have. What else did I do yesterday? Coached some CrossFit, went for a great walk. Today is going to be more of the same. So after those calls, before, in between, and after, I'm going to get all my work done. There's not a lot that has to be done today, but I'm going to get it done, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the day outside, and hopefully, knock on wood, my first motorcycle ride will be today. Last year, I was on my motorcycle literally one time. I took a single ride. We're going to change that this year. Good coffee. What else is going on? Just moving along. Good morning, Frank. Hope you are well, my friend. I think the big thing that's going on is that we're trying to clear out inventory. As I've considered all the money we have invested in inventory, if we can just get through and sell off what we have, there will be some money to put back in to other things. So I think what we're going to do short term is sacrifice the foam gear and order uniforms. Order more of the black wraparound uniforms. That is the product that has had the most demand that we can actually meet. Everybody who wants foam gear wants, the different colors and the different sizes that we can't keep pace on. I don't have $100,000. But I can find a few thousand once we sell through this, and we can order more uniforms. I got an email yesterday from someone who said that they had learned recently in an episode that the belts that we sold temporarily were kind of a collector's item. Yeah, I don't know when we'll do belts again. It took a long time to find that factory, and they were not the right factory. But this whole thing is a learning process. Life is a learning process, isn't it? You figure out what to do, what not to do, and you repeat, right? We've been working on removing mats. She's long-haired and can't groom herself super well, as you might imagine. If you've ever had a long-haired cat, you know that. And she's not fond of me removing the mats because it's not always pleasant. But I've been working on it a little bit every day, and she's able to move better. And she's happier because she doesn't have as many mats, right? Yeah. Let's see what you guys wrote in. Remember, write me stuff, send me questions, send me comments, send me quotes, and I'll respond to them tomorrow. And that is the heart of this show. Pull them up on my trusty tablet here. This thing's like 7, 8 years old. It's crazy. And today we have stuff from Gabe and Frank. Frank being the producer here on First Cup, Gabe being the producer for Whistlekick Live. Let's start with Frank's quotes, because Gabe's question might take a little while. It is difficult to understand the universe if you only study one planet. Miyamoto Musashi. And what I find most fascinating about that quote is the awareness, the broader awareness, at a time when we had a pretty poor understanding of science. Right? I know roughly when Musashi was around, and certainly we knew about other planets. But the average person wasn't thinking beyond their immediate area. So for him to write that shows a lot of awareness. I should probably read the Book of Five Rings again. I honestly don't know if I've read it. I think I have a copy over on my bookshelf. I'll have to see. I should read it again. If I can't remember reading it, I should read it again. So let's unpack that. It is difficult to understand the universe, the entirety of things, if you only study part of them. It is difficult to be a true martial artist if you only study one style. It is difficult to be good at even your style if you only focus on fighting or forms or. It's not or, it's and. It's training in this and this and this and this, ideally. There are exceptions. And if you've listened to the episode of Martial Arts Radio titled Mastery versus Diversity, you know my inner conflict with that. But within your own style, and. Whatever aspects you have, whatever elements you have of it, you will get better by spending your time on the parts that you have the most challenge with. If you're a great fighter, how much better a fighter are you going to get by investing a little bit more time? But if you're not good at forms, by investing a little bit more time in forms training, it's going to make you better at everything else. By investing the time in the thing that you suck at the most, you will become a more effective martial artist. And this is how pretty much every physical discipline should be approached. When I coach CrossFit, I encourage people to spend the time on the skill or the movements that they have the hardest trouble with. If we think about gymnastics, if we think about the different apparatus, if we think about the different movements that can be done, the difficulty that somebody has with one movement on one apparatus is likely due to either, it's going to be due to a few things. It's either time put in, so inexperience, or lack of strength or flexibility or something there. Well, it's not like it only manifests there. It's going to, or it's psychological. Now, how is addressing that on one not going to have carryover to the others? If you look at your martial arts, if you spend time on, let's say you have trouble with the kick, I've observed most martial artists having the hardest time with side kick because of the hip mobility. If you get better at a side kick, it's because your hip mobility is off and it improves. That hip mobility is going to carry over to everything. You're going to have an easier time throwing round kicks, turning kicks, whatever you call them. You're going to have an easier time kicking higher. Your spinning kicks are going to be more fluid and hurt your hips less. It all works out. Identify those things that you suck at the most and put the time in. Right, co-host? This is a very, very bad co-host. She just sits there and purrs. Oh. Someone named Esha Gupta, a name I do not know, but a rather powerful and possibly controversial quote. Martial arts should be part of every girl's education. Martial arts should be part of every girl's education. Now, I have said martial arts should be part of everyone's education, but do I want to limit it in this way? Yes and no. Do I think that given the current societal climate in, I think I have to say all countries, at the very least most countries, do I think that the things martial arts provides are of, I want to phrase this right. I think we are all aware, here, I'm going to say this differently. I think we are all aware that women are often regarded differently in society. While most people have accepted women can do anything, there is still a large portion of the population who are uncomfortable or worse at the idea of women doing certain things. I am the first one to admit that there are differences in gender psychology, in gender physiology, but those are not hard limits. Those are predispositions. I could play basketball. I'm 5'7". That's a predisposition. It's not a limit. But some of those predispositions are treated as limits. Martial arts is great at teaching you that those limits do not exist. And I think that some people in some areas would benefit greatly from the lessons about limits that come from martial arts training. Women and girls, perhaps especially. Why am I choosing my words so carefully? I am not a woman. I've never been a woman. I do not have daughters. I am not married. And I have a very difficult time wrapping my brain around gender bias. I was raised by a very strong woman who did some very untraditionally female things. My mother was a woodworker. My mother was taller than the average woman at 5'8". Yes, my mother's taller than I am. My mother trained, still trains. and she's always been incredible. So for me to logically, I can understand that there are people, men out there, and even women, who want women to occupy this certain place in society, this role. I don't get it. I don't see the advantage. I don't know why. So I'm fighting with these words because I don't want to be insensitive to the reality, all while admitting that my empathy for those people who feel that way is greatly lacking. I've often said everyone should have at least 6 months of martial arts training. Hold on, cat me. There you go. She decided to go under her blanket, and if I did not do what I just did, which was to wrap her in it, she was going to dig in the couch. And I try to protect the couch because it's only a couple years old. Cat. Anybody want a free cat? Cat in a box. I'll ship you a cat. I'm just kidding. Can anyone tell my discomfort at this subject? Not. Why am I uncomfortable? Because I'm trying to be respectful of everyone. And I'm trying to find the right words to express something that is really more of a feeling than anything else. So if we come back to the quote as it's written, martial arts should be part of every girl's education. Yes. It should. But that does not mean martial arts should not be part of every boy's education. I think that's the most balanced I can be in answering that. And then our final bit for the day from Gabe. It's like he pulled this one out of my mind because this is something I've been contemplating over the last few years. Do you think this world will ever see gladiator type games which include death? Yes, I do. I do. Here's why. If you look throughout history, there is a segment of the population that loves violence. Don't believe me? What's the most popular sport in the United States to watch? Football. What do people complain about the most with football that has changed? The walking back of some of the rules that allowed more violent hits. When we see promotional stuff coming out of the UFC, it's often some of the most brutal hits, bloody faces. UFC is very successful. We are hardwired, some of us, I am not one of them, but some of us are hardwired to respond to violence. That's established, okay? Let's take that fact and put it over here for right now. If we take a look at competition, competition tends to become normalized. Meaning, the Google Home around the corner, 15 feet away, just responded to something about Futurama. I have no idea why. All right. Some people are hardwired for violence. Things that are done become normalized. Thus, when there's a market a market leader, somebody tends to come along and try to do things differently with something that is more of something. If somebody's ever going to dethrone the UFC, it will likely be because of a dramatic change in rules. The UFC has the money, they have the names. So what are they going to have, this other company going to have to do? They're going to have to be more violent. That probably means they're not going to be holding their fights in the US, because it's only in the last few years that the UFC got clearance to hold fights in all 50 states. I think New York was the final holdout. But people are willing to spend more and more time and money online, streaming. It won't all of a sudden be a fight to the death. You know, it's not going to be, what was the movie where they had that? Was that Demolition Man? There have been a couple of movies where we've had stuff like that. But there will be, there will be some rule set that says no fight stoppage, because that's one of the major complaints about the UFC, is that fights get stopped too soon. And so you'll have a fight. Frank says Fight Club. Oh, and Stacy wrote, cats and mat remove requires martial arts for sure. Yeah, mat removal, being able to hold her. And I found sometimes I end up having her in a choke as I get in there, so I gotta be careful. So it would not surprise me if one of these fights has no referee, and somebody's down and somebody's on and punching, and they don't stop soon enough, and the person on the bottom dies, and it goes viral. And that fight promotion realizes, we have something here. And it'll never be in the rules that people have to fight to the death. But it will be understood that this happens sometimes. It'll be part of why people watch. And it will attract newer fighters, because the prize money will be really significant. The payouts to both sides will be really good, and the money will pass on to the families. So you'll have people who say, I win either way. And I'd say we're 10 years from that. Episode, what was it, 501, 503? Yeah, must have been 501. I offered up some predictions for where the martial arts industry is going. I don't consider this martial arts. The values that most martial artists hold would never line up with that. I would never watch that. I would never support that. But yeah, it'll happen. I think it'll remain fringe. It'll be I think it will best be compared to pornography, something that has incredibly wide adoption, but very little discussion. Pornography makes a lot of money, and yet somehow nobody watches it. This will be similar. A lot of people will watch, no one will admit it. Although, ironically, more people will admit to watching this because, at least in our society, we've decided that violence perpetrated on other people is more socially acceptable than consensual sex. George Carlin did a bit on this that was utterly brilliant and a fascinating observation. The idea, how did he put it? It's been a while since I've heard it, but I would rather have my children watch two people making love than two people fighting. Makes sense to me. So, I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am. There's a wave. There's a shift coming in awareness, in consciousness, in how we look at the world, and we're on the front edge of it right now. There are changes coming as a result of COVID-19 and everyone's habits that I don't think most people realize. Again, I hope I'm wrong. So, that's why we saved that one for the end, because I knew it would go somewhere like this. If you want to ask me a question or leave me a quote, something to respond to, drop it below. I will answer it tomorrow for Friday. If you are new to the show, please consider supporting what we do here at Whistlekick by going to whistlekick.com and making a purchase. If you have not gone to amazon.com and looked at everything we have, there is stuff being sold at cost, below cost. We are clearing it all out. Please go check it out. Grab yourself some gear or a uniform. We've got a ton of apparel at whistlekick.com. That stuff's not on clearance. Or if you want to support us and get yourself some more content, patreon.com, patreon.com/whistlekick. And if you contribute $5 a month or more, you'll get more stuff. And if you're interested in the programs that we do, consider the $25 tier, because we have released the strength program and the speed program for free to those people. So it pays for itself. If you're new, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, here on YouTube. Or watch it later. Or find it in your podcast feed, because Frank converts it all to audio, because he's awesome. So that discussion took a surprising amount out of me. I am not sure why, so I need to go contemplate that. Am I sad? I think that's why. So I'm going to go sit with that for a minute. Thank you for the wonderful conversation today, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care. Peace.